Hello, everyone, and welcome to Everything Iconic with me, Danny Pellegrino. I'm very excited. We have a returning guest, Matt Rogers. Of course, you know him from Las Culturistas podcast. You know him from I Love That For You on Showtime, which I'm loving for you and for me, and Fire Island on Hulu. Matt, how are you doing?
I'm so good, but sort of, because I just told you before we started, like I was watching the last episode of Atlanta, and that last sequence with Sheree, I was really starting to cry. I think I'm like right on my skin. It's been such an emotional week releasing the movie that like I literally will cry at anything. And this stuff with Sheree is really sending me, Danny.
Well, and don't you sort of feel like we haven't seen Sheree that vulnerable before? Like, I don't think she's ever really cried on camera. I was trying to think of if she'd ever cried on camera.
She got upset during the reunion of 9 when everything was going down with the girls, but she's never made herself this vulnerable. And it just, for her to put herself out there and really commit years to this man and then him treat her like that, and he knows that she's on camera, to me, this is not just a red flag. This is like a deal breaker. And that's devastating.
And I sort of feel like the behind the scenes mechanics of it must be tough, because I would imagine, I don't know this for a fact, but I would imagine the Sheree coming back, they probably said to her, you have to open up. Because from what I understand, the part of the reason why she was let go is because she was in this relationship, but she wasn't really willing to go there on camera. And now she went on to this season returning for full-time status, the only person in the history of the Housewives franchise to return full-time twice. And so I imagine she knew the pressure was on to open up her life and to be vulnerable. And then she thought, okay, Tyrone's going to be part of my storyline. He's going to come on. We're going to talk about my relationship. And then this happens. And it's sad. It's sad.
You have to wonder too, like maybe the reason why she wasn't opening up in the past is because she knew that there was a risk of this happening. And, that is dark in and of itself, because, how long have you lived in ambiguity? You know what I mean? Like, how long have you been in a state of like duress in your romantic life? And I think that's another thing is like, I think I realized watching the sequence, like just how much we care about Sheree, because she has been on since the beginning. And, I'm so obsessed that she's back. I love that she's back, but I don't want to see it like this.
I know.
And I also like, big ups to Kenya, who was a great friend on the phone.
I love them as a duo. Also, I love Sheree. Can we talk about Sheree's outfit for a second in that scene? Because she was
oh my God, it really was iconic. It was iconic.
It was like,
and also the waitress was giving exactly what you want your waitress to be in that sequence. Like, oh yeah, take your time. Absolutely, take your time. The woman's out there for 2 hours in the cold. I'm wondering if there was like no room inside. Like, I want basically that to be triple as long. And every time the waitress comes back out to check in on her, she's like, "Hey, my shift is ending, so could I close you out for that tea and the artichoke app? Because I'd love to make a tip on this."
And it was so sad because Sheree couldn't decide. She's like, is this a boozy time or is this a tea time? She at first ordered a cocktail, and then she's like, oh, maybe Tyrone's not going to come. And I don't know if it'd be good if I got drunk on camera without him here. I mean, there was a lot of stuff at play.
She was ready to drink her French 75. She was ready to try a new cocktail. It was a big day. And she looked beautiful in the most, to say the least, way. You know what I mean? Like, she really arrived with all the garments in her closet on her body.
It was like that scene from Friends where Joey puts on all of Chandler's clothes.
yeah, very much.
Matt,
I really was
tell me about Drop It with Drew. I'm sorry to change the subject, but since we're in Atlanta, just what are your thoughts on the Drop It with Drew program? If you can call it a program, because I'm still unclear as to what's happening there.
I think we're all going to remain unclear because I don't think it's actually a developed thing. Although here's what I'll say. I don't like it when they get on them about their medical stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's bordering on body shaming. And also, like, if she's saying what her medical situation is, then leave it there. In terms of Drop It with Drew, like, what I got from the first episode is that not much was dropped. No shade. Right. It's just that, like, in order to, hawk a service that is going to do a certain thing, you have to, like, be able to give testimonial, at least yourself as the person that is hawking it. Because if that's not true, then in the words of Kenya, it's giving Ponzi scheme.
It's giving Ponzi. I went to the website too because they kept talking about the website.
You did?
So I did. I went there.
Of course you did.
Yeah, I did. I had to take my monocle out. I went to the website and I was cracking up because there are a bunch of before and after photos that do sort of look exactly the same. It's just like, oh, well.
I mean, the thing is, like, it's almost like when you opt to do something like that, I guess you are like sort of opting into a lifestyle, but you also want it to work. And at least, you know, with all of these like before and after weight loss things or like fitness things, at least they lie to you on face value. You know what I mean? Like, at least like when you go onto YouTube and it's like, I don't know if you ever go onto YouTube and you see that one guy that's like, a lot of people think that you got to cut back carbs in order to lose weight. Just not true. And like, he's at least like showing like before and afters that then you find out it's a scam. You know what I mean? Like, she's just showing that it doesn't work. I mean, at least she's being honest.
There's some guy, like when I go on, my whole TikTok is like inspirational TikTok. I guess those are the videos that I watch, but there's one guy that pops up all the time that he's blouseless and he's talking about, he's like, you don't run on a treadmill to lose weight. And he's like very aggressive. And that's the first thing he yells in your face. And it shows up for some reason. I need to like learn how to block that one specific video or something, but at least he is.
I think I know him.
Do you know who I'm talking about? It's like, he pops up every single fucking time I log in.
All the time. I think it's this guy that I'm talking about because one of his things is like cardio will not work, which is just kind of like, why are people doing it? I mean, yes, it does.
What's his end game? He's Ponzi scheme too. We need to look into that man because he's like, I don't trust him.
It was probably about, you know what? Honestly, this is not a transition if you don't want it to be, but like,
we'll see.
In order to prepare for the Fire Island movie, I was sort of panicking about getting in shape. And he sort of struck me as someone who seemed enthusiastic about his own body. And he does look good. That's the thing. He's incredibly hot. And so I actually paid for whatever he was selling. And then about 15 minutes later, I was like, why the fuck did I do that? And literally, I know.
This was a Fire Island diet you've paid with that man?
I gave somebody my money to you know, follow a program. But then I didn't. Like, I did not do it because I felt stupid immediately because it is like layers upon layers with those things. Like, if you're listening to this podcast and you're thinking about doing like a get fit quick or like a plan online, like really look into what it is, make sure these trainers are real and also like the testimonials are real. Like, go to the website or whatever and look at what people are saying, because had I just gone to the website or looked it up even a little bit and done my due diligence, I would have seen that everyone felt ripped off. 100% of the people. The
real dirty truth is that the only way to lose weight is to eat healthy and work out. It's like the very basic thing. That's the thing to do. You all look amazing.
You know what Joel Kim says to me? And Joel Kim is always like, abs are made in the kitchen, which is like such a drag on me because I eat like absolute horse shit, but whatever, I guess he's right. But he also drinks like chicken.
Wait, I'm dying to talk about Fire Island. So now that the movie's out and obviously everyone is loving it, embracing it, how are you feeling? Because, I mean, I was texting you about this before when it came out. Like, that's your scene in that with the Marissa Tomei, my cousin Vinny. It was like gay Italian representation. It was to me the funniest scene in the movie, although I love the whole movie. And now that clip is kind of going all over the place. Like, how is it feeling now that it's come out? Are you just so proud?
I'm overjoyed. I feel like because not only is it so great to be a part of something that I stand by and that I really like and that I think is really funny and has great performances and is beautiful to look at, has an amazing, you know, point of view, but also just it's been so nice to get back together with all of my friends that I made the movie with. You know, obviously Bowen and Joel are people that are very close. Well, maybe people don't know that, but Bowen and Joel and I are all very, very close. But when we shot this movie last summer, the whole cast became extremely tight-knit. And it's really fun to get back together with them. And we all have the same degree of excitement. And we're all just like, you know, buzzing over the fact that it has a 94 on Rotten Tomatoes. And, you know, that people seem to call it like, you know, like a new instant classic, you know, like, and people are using the word clueless to describe, you know, what it represents and like the language of it and how it feels like it's representing a community and it's making people think too. And I genuinely think and hope that it's making people in our community, the LGBTQ plus community, think about the way we treat each other and how, you know, we can get so much further by being kind and being welcoming than being elitist and being shitty. So I'm so excited.
It's also got that magical, perfect rom-com quality of rewatchability where I feel like it's just people are gonna. I've already rewatched it twice since I've seen it.
A lot of people have been saying that.
It really has that quality. And my all-time favorite movie is You've Got Mail, and
sure,
I can watch that every single day of my life, and I don't get tired of it. And I feel like Fire Island has that vibe of just you want to put it on. It's comfortable. It's nice.
And there's a lot of set pieces too that are really fun. I mean, you mentioned the heads up scene, which thank you so much. And Tomas and I are so excited that people are responding to that. But also, the sometimes number, the karaoke moment, like also, not spoiler alert, but what always sends me, and I cry every time I watch the end of the movie is, when James Scully, steals the boat at the end and goes to Bo and Yang on the dock and their thing, and just Conrad Ricamora and Joel in the movie, their discussion about the Alice Munro book that ends with Joel being like, somehow I'm mad and horny in the voiceover. So many things, and so many great performances from people I love.
Wait, so I know everyone is so good in it, but you guys have had to sort of mention to each other, like, oh, we're going to do a part 2 or something, right? Like there has to be
enough, never while we were shooting it. It really felt like its own thing. I think because it was based on Pride and Prejudice, which is a complete story. And I also think, just shooting it was hard. It was really hard to get the crew to the island, and they had to take the equipment back and forth every night. We couldn't leave the equipment on the island, and we did it in 6 weeks. There wasn't a huge budget, and so we didn't think about it like that at the time. But now that it's out, it feels like there's serious discussions.
No, we need it. We need it.
Which is crazy and would be so much fun.
I just want you all to go anywhere. It doesn't have to be Fire Island. Send you guys any trip in the world. I just want to see people just want to spend more time with the characters, which I think would be really fun.
Somebody threw out a potential title for it, which was Fire Island 2, Palm Springs.
I love it.
Fire Island 2, Provincetown.
I love it. I love it.
It would be so cool. And weirdly enough, just because somebody brought it up, we already all started talking about potential storylines, and it was just crazy.
Well, and not to get to whatever about it, I'm not sure how much the listeners really care, but I think one of the really special things about it is it has been seemingly so successful. I mean, social media chatter, you mentioned Rotten Tomatoes, the critics really love this movie. And as a creator, it's very hard to get LGBTQ stuff made. And so I think this is going to be very helpful to get stuff made. I mean, it's going to open up a lot of doors, and hopefully production companies, networks see that this has been so successful and will want to make stuff for LGBTQ people. Because I think we've all had, I know plenty of people who have scripts. I have my own scripts that it's you try to get out there, and it's hard, and you get notes of well, maybe could this person be straight, or maybe if this was a young woman instead or something. And those are the types of notes you get as a writer. And so I hope that this changes things, and I think it will.
Well, it's fun because I feel like, there's one project like this, and then there's 3 the next year, and then there's 5, this year it's there's Bros, there's Fire Island, there's Queer as Folk. Earlier in the year there was a film called 3 Months that was written and directed by my dear friend Jared Frieder. He actually wrote and directed the movie. It's semi-autobiographical, and Troye Sivan was in it, and it's something everyone should check out. And so we have all these really different, distinct queer pieces, and I just feel how cool that it feels like it's multiplying every year, And so I even say a few years ago, if Love, Simon was not your thing and you felt this is the representation we're getting, I personally adore that movie. And I think it was very cute to open the door. And then obviously we have Love, Victor from it, which a lot of people prefer. Without that movie, maybe we don't have Happiest Season. And without Happiest Season, we definitely don't have Fire Island, because I think that's one of the reasons why Hulu even wanted to do it, is because Happiest Season was such a big hit for them. And I believe they're getting a sequel.
And I don't know if people realize just how difficult it is. I often see, and we've talked about, I think I was talking to Joel about it, when you make queer content, oftentimes it's the queer community that is the most critical of this stuff. And it's understandable in a lot of ways. But I sometimes want to explain, well, it's very difficult to get any of this stuff made. And oftentimes if you, let's say, have a queer script, the production company will send you, I have something that a production company bought and they sent a list of the names of who they wanted for the lead. And it's like a list of mostly straight white males because they're looking at bankability and they're looking at a lot of other factors. And I don't know that people realize it's like, even to just get it made and then to try to get the diverse, then to try to get all these things in there, it ultimately, by the time it's
so
done,
many more benchmarks. Yeah.
Right.
The thing about Fire Island is like, what's so great about it is now you've got 10 gay men who've been in a hit movie. You know what I mean? That's really cool too, because and that's why it's so important to like support these things and like, give them the space, because 10 gay men now are in a hit movie. I should say 10 queer people queer people are in a hit movie. And it's also got Margaret Cho, you know what I mean? Like bringing her back into the conversation, like not that she ever left, but like in a big hit movie. And so now next time that these lists get put out, maybe some of our names will be on it. Like I would highly doubt that Joel Kim Booster's name is not going to be on lists after this. You know what I mean? I would be shocked if Conrad Ricamora is not getting offers from this. Zane Phillips, like I already know he's booked since the movie. Yeah. Like
you're all going to be booked. I mean,
fingers crossed.
But
I'm always the crazy person that's like, what's my next thing? What's my next thing? But I'm really trying to just slow down and really enjoy this moment, because it's not just Fire Island. It's I Love That For You. It's the podcast doing great. So I'm really just trying to enjoy this.
I love that for you. What's it like working with Molly? Obviously, the whole cast is great. I know Jono from Groundlings days. I know he's
Jono. I love
a good friend. He's the best. But
he's
Molly Shannon to me is the best, and she's just the best. So tell me a good Molly Shannon story.
I love her. So she actually sent me a voice memo yesterday. She loves to send voice memos, and she sent me one. And I think it's so funny every time, because I can see that it's her when she texts me. She could just be like, hey, but every time she goes, hi, Matt, it's Molly Shannon. How are you? I just want to say, and then she just does her whole thing. I adore her. Actually, my favorite Molly Shannon story I have is, obviously countless things from the set. She's so inventive and fun. And I just love watching her like physically orient herself when she's going to do a scene. Like she's such a physical performer. I think that, obviously coming from SNL, she loves to figure out like how she's going to physically inhabit a scene or a moment or a character, which I love. But I actually met her at a Countess Luann and Friends cabaret show, because I was writing for the second season of the other two. And I remember we had a day in the room where at the end of the day, I was going with Chris Kelly and Sarah Schneider to see the Countess Lou at the Wiltern in LA. And I was so excited. And then they go, oh, and Molly Shannon's going to come with us. And I was like, what? Like, I'm going to meet Molly Shannon. First of all, gag, was already excited to see Lou, the star. So
what a night.
What a night. We're going, and I'm already like drunk when I get there. But Molly's there. She's so kind. She's there with her girlfriend, and we all sit in the same row, and we proceed to just watch Lou just nail it for her performance.
By nail it, you mean she was up there?
What I mean was she's certainly a star. Okay, I'll say that. Like she is inhabiting her stardom up there in a real way. Okay, maybe the vocals aren't, Fantasia Barrino, but
I love that. That's the reference.
Well, I really didn't want to say Adele,
I do love
because
me.
I feel like that's such a flop.
But I love Fantasia.
She's a great singer.
Yeah.
But Lou is not Fantasia. But basically, like what happened was I get so drunk. I'm so drunk. And there's like a question and answer section. So I like drag my ass over to the mic. I'm like, I'm gonna ask a question. And so basically I get to the mic, and I sort of know Ben Rimmelauer, who was directing her show at the time, who many people probably know from being featured on the show a bunch as Luann's cabaret director. So he sees me at the mic and he's like, oh yeah, gives me a thumbs up. And he goes to Lou, look, it's Matt Rogers from Las Culturistas. And you see her just like not register it at all. Like, who the fuck am I to her? What is lost culture just to her? So she goes, oh, of course, darling, you look incredible. Thanks so much. And I'm just like, Lou. And then I realize I have to ask a question and I'm like fully fucked up. So I'm like, Lou, it's so good to see you. You look incredible. You're slaying tonight. I just want to know, what's the deal with Carol? Like, all I had was, what's the deal with Carol? So the whole room just gets like, ooh, 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 ooh. Everyone wants to know what's the deal with Carol. So it was like bump set spike, because Countess just turns and goes, who? And the whole crowd just screams in approval. And she goes, I haven't seen that woman since I wrapped the show with her, since the show that I'm still on. And, you know, everyone's like, God. Yes, yeah. Yes. And I like, you know, fucking like bring myself back, Sesame Street my way back over to the place where we're sitting. And Molly Shannon looks at me and goes, that was a really good question. And then later, like a year later, we were shooting, not even like 2 years later, we're shooting the pilot for I Love That For You. And I go up to her in the makeup trailer and I'm like, Molly, you'll never remember this, but we met at a Countess Lou and Friends concert I wrote for the other two. And she goes, oh, yes, I do remember. You asked that really good question. Isn't that funny?
Lou's bringing everyone together. She brings everyone together.
So grateful for her for so many reasons, but mostly that.
When the first Lou show, I met her, and my friend was like, oh, this is Ben from Watch What Happens. Like, this is Danny Pellegrino. And she's like, oh, I knew the Pellegrinos from the Suez Canal or something. She was like telling some story, and I was like blackout drunk, you know, like don't remember. But she was like talking, and I was like, we're not related. But I think I agreed that we were related in the moment because I just wanted to keep it going. But
you just got to yes and the queen. I was thinking about how drunk I was at the time, and like
everyone's hammered at that show.
And I thought that must be so weird for her,
especially as a sober person, because the crowd at those shows is not even anywhere close to sober. It's like the most drunk people you will find will be at that show. And she's just on stage.
In fact, like I actually, because I do music as well. Like it's like a musical comedy. So like I came
Matthew, the Everything Iconic listeners, remember when you sang Candace on the show from Real Housewives of Potomac? You sang.
Oh my God. Reverse the conversation. One of the best. I think the best. Trust me, that's not what you want. The best Housewives song.
Who needs a heart?
Back and forth.
Yeah.
Oh, who needs a heart? Oh, wow. That was so good. Where to start? You know, her music really improved because Drive Back is an actual bop. Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
It actually was like in my top 5 most played songs of the year last year, but I digress.
It's really good. It's really good.
But what I was going to say was, oh God, what was I going to say?
Well, Luann, what were we talking about, Luann?
Oh gosh,
I lost my train of thought too. I have so many questions for you. I haven't even looked down at my questions.
You brought up Drive Back, and we lost the plot.
But listeners are going to yell at me. Why didn't he ever answer that question? Okay, wait. I got to ask you about the Fire Island, the Bechdel test stuff.
Oh my God,
which is so funny. So let me just explain. Let me just explain to listeners. So Hannah Rosen, she's a writer. She tweeted this. So Hulu Fire Island movie gets an F- on the Bechdel test in a whole new way. Do we just ignore the drab lesbian stereotypes because cute gay Asian boys ? Is this revenge for all those years of the gay boy best friend? And then she did ultimately, after getting dragged pretty hard, I don't know if she tweeted out like an apology or an explanation or something of the was it apology?
Well, she removed the tweet and she screenshotted it and attached an apology to it, which was, I think correct of her to do because it was very mean. It was very uncalled for. Her language was extremely diminishing, and I personally found it racist. But, ultimately, I guess, thanks to the Queen, Alison Bechdel, for coming in and being like, hey, just so you know, for me, this is not an egregious example of not passing the Bechdel test. And she even said, like, if in a movie 2 men are speaking about an Alice Munro novel, and they happen to also be in a Jane Austen adaptation, that's a corollary. It passes the Bechdel test. So ultimately, it's one person's, I think, extremely dumb mistake, and I will call it a mistake because it seems like she's taken enough stock in her response after she got rightfully dragged online that she didn't mean it in an ill-intentioned way. I think she probably just needs to spend some hours on that in therapy and, think about why she needed to say that, because it was truly nasty. And also to pick on this movie
of all movies
is really, I mean, it's racist. Like, and that's what's fucked up about it.
The weird
Where was she on Top Gun Maverick?
I still haven't seen Top Gun Maverick. I'm actually pissed about it because they didn't bring Meg Ryan back. I don't want to talk about it.
So pissed.
Like, what was that? I mean, I just have a problem with it. This isn't what this podcast is about, but the filmmakers had come out and said, "Oh, we wanted to present these new characters. We didn't want to look too far in the past." I get all of that, but then it's like, right. But then the whole movie is sort of a look at the past, from what I understand. I haven't seen it. I heard it's great. People love it. I'm going to watch it eventually. But
first of all, it's fine. It's fine. It takes way too long to get to the fun part. I understand that everyone's like foaming at the mouth over it. It's fine. They should have brought Meg Ryan back.
It's just misogynistic at this point because they bring the men back for these things. Did they? Okay, spoiler.
She's dead in the movie.
Well,
and they're like, well, since she died, they didn't say how she died. They didn't. There was no like remembrance of her, and she's like a major character in that first movie. It was lame. I don't care.
I'm
the
disgusted.
Gaga song was the best part.
I love that song. Okay, everyone hates that song. Hold my hand. Wait, what does she whisper at the end of that song?
I heard from the heavens.
Yes,
which is like, and she's sort of going like this. She's like giving up the like fucking straight boy deuce at the end. I love her. That
song came out when I was traveling or something, and you know how you get really emotional on a plane. It was like, I first listened to it on a plane. And so it hit me just like so incredibly hard. I was like sobbing listening to this Lady Gaga song. And then I was reading everyone's response online. Everyone like hated the song. I was like, this is the greatest song of all time. And then I just love how it ends with that whisper.
The first time I heard it, I was like, I don't think this is a good song at all. In fact, I was like actively pissed about it. And then the second time I heard it, I was like, oh, this will be all I listen to for months.
It gives Faith Hill, There You'll Be from the Pearl Harbor soundtrack.
Now that's high praise.
Yeah, I know.
One of Diane Warren's greats.
And I mean it. Because I miss sort of that like bombastic, I don't want to miss a thing.
Yeah.
I miss that. The soundtrack to Fire Island's great too, while we're here just talking about soundtracks.
Oh my God, how good is the Muna cover sometimes?
I'm obsessed with Muna. And then when that song came out, I mean, come on. But wait, the one thing I wanted to just go back to about the Alison Bechdel and the tweet of it all, I think one of the kind of silver linings of it is that it opened up this conversation about it. And then also I think it's going to lead a lot of people to the movie because it got a lot of like traction and stuff. And I was like, oh, good. We're going to get more people to see this movie because we need people to see it.
I think that's true.
Okay. Tell me about like your sort of gay awakening movies. Like I talked to Joel about some of the like indie movies that we had to sort of sneak our generation of queer people. I remember sneaking Latter Days or Broken Hearts Club or some of these. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like these independent.
Yeah, like those gateway drugs.
Right. And it's like we're just sort of feeding on scraps at a certain point, but like, or Trick with Tori Spelling. Like
not to be like softcore about it, but the eating out movies were like major for me. Like I used to like really like have to, find my way to those. And I loved them and they were so horny and I thought they were so hot. Like, and of course now you watch them and you're like, oh God, like these are so tacky and embarrassing. But when you have nothing else, like, that was really major.
Wait. Sorry, I'm stopping you for a second because I auditioned for one of the eating out movies, like one of the later ones or whatever. And I had some eye issue or something. So I wear contact lenses and I'm like pretty blind without my contact lenses. And so there was some issue. I had to wear my glasses into the audition. And I got there and they made me take off my glasses and then they wanted me to take off my top. And so and I'm not in like a let's shirtless kind of vibe, but I couldn't see a single thing. I was like stumbling around. And if that footage were to ever make its way to the internet, like I would be ruined because I couldn't see a single thing because they asked me to take off my glasses and my body was not in shape. I mean, it was one of the most horrific experiences I've ever had.
The thing is too, like, it's like, even if like you're incorrect that you weren't in shape, it's like you have to be comfortable.
No, you have to be confident.
Like, and that's the thing about like Fire Island too, is it's like, that's the most nude I've ever been in anything, or maybe ever will be in anything. And it was also my first film. So the amount of chaos that goes into that, especially when you're raised as a true child on the eating out movies, like, and everyone's got like this like very Abercrombie and Fitch look in those movies. And like, the asses are like impossible shelves and like the skin is absolutely perfect. It's just like, that's something I also like about Fire Island, is that there is like a true diversity in the types of people that are represented. Like, yes, of course, there's gorgeous, gay men in it, and you have a movie to sell, so everyone is attractive. But I feel like, I'm not concerned about young queers watching this, and I don't feel like we're going to do damage to them by watching it, by like, having this
only showing one
standard. Yeah. And also really hammering home that this is an island for everyone, like a vacation destination, like that is for everyone and not just for like the oppressive white, straight acting majority.
Wait, what was the movie? I interrupted you with my eating out story. You were about to tell one other movie that you remember?
I was just going to say like I remember watching like Queer as Folk and like not understanding a second of the plot because I was so blinded by horniness. And what I liked about Eating Out was like there's that long scene in the British and American version actually, which is like
of Queer as Folk.
Gay. Yeah, of Queer as Folk, of like the older gay sort of like, like getting because it's the guy from Sons of Anarchy, right? Charlie Hunnam.
Charlie Hunnam is like he's UK
like the
guy.
Blonde twink in the UK version, and like the older guy is like basically like eating him out and like getting him ready for sex. I'm like, there's something hot to me about like that like teacher student thing. And then I of course had a first sexual experience with someone I worked for who was 11 years older than me, and I'll unpack that later.
Wait, how old was he and how old were you?
He was 30 and I was 19. And I worked for him at a restaurant, and it wasn't great. But and looking back, hindsight is 2020. But it was all very normal at the time, and I think it's because like I had this like thing in my head about like Queer as Folk, like I just need like someone older to like teach me what to do, which I think is true. But like there's baggage there.
Well, in a sick way too, for Queer as Folk, I remember sneaking in my parents' basement to watch it, like after everyone would go to bed in the house and like watching it. But that was the only place I remember being able to really learn about gay sex outside of gay porn, which we sort of came of age when internet started making it accessible. But I mean, it was a weird time where it was like dial-up would take forever. So you'd have to go downstairs and watch Queer as Folk.
Yeah, I also like I did that with Sex and the City too. Like in terms of like just content I would consume, like that was something I snuck when my parents were not there. I would go on like the HBO on demand and watch all the Sex and the Cities. So I think I have seen every episode from like an early age because that was something that I remember. Like if it wasn't like an explicitly queer movie, at least it was like all women, and I got to like stan early in my life. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and I have this theory that we just didn't really have a lot of gay representation, so we latched onto the thing that was closest, which is women. So that's why I think a lot of people, Samantha Jones was like the closest to a gay character that we would see on screen. I was just watching.
She was the gay icon.
Do you remember that scene? I just rewatched it last night because I was thinking about it with Samantha in Sex and the City when she goes to get STD tested and she's doing like the questionnaire and she's like, do you give and receive anal? She's like, yes. And she just says yes to every question. It's the funniest fucking thing. But she was just so good. I mean, are you on, where do you fall within the Kim Cattrall and Sarah Jessica Parker belt? Do you feel like one is more right or one is less right?
I think there's a world where they're both right. I honestly think that like it's two people who obviously like shouldn't work together. And I have to be honest, like, well, you have to just let a woman say no. Like if she doesn't want to do it, it's not personal. It's just, she professionally wants to move on. Like, and she only has to say no one time. And it's like, I just wish that she would stop being asked the question because at this point, how many more times does she have to say a hardest no? It's like abusive at this point from like the media. And of course we all want, we all wanted And Just Like That to end with Kim Cattrall being there, but it was not going to happen. And I feel like, I just wish we'd all sort of stop with it because it's like, not only is it like disrespectful, but also it's like exhausting and like sort of like,
Yeah, we got the answers already.
It's like
we get
blue
it.
ball-y
Yeah.
for us all because it's
I know.
it's not going to happen.
I know. We need to all just move on. Okay, quick housewife thoughts. Dubai. Have you watched Dubai Housewives?
I have watched.
What
Dubai
are you
Housewives.
thinking? I can't get into it, Matt. I'm just not. I don't know where. I don't know why I'm disconnecting.
I saw you say this on
I'm disconnected.
Instagram. I would say that the first 15 minutes like had me, and then by the end I was not as excited. I think that we have too many of them.
It's too much. Yeah.
What their faces are.
I hate to say that.
Sarah and Nina are blending for me.
Yeah.
They're not standing out. I mean, Chanel Ayan is obviously the star.
But even she feels a little put on to me. And
does she feel put on?
I mean, a little bit to me. And I think she's amazing. She's obviously the one with the most sort of star power, the one giving the most. But I also sort of feel like she's almost playing the role a little bit of what a Real Housewife should be. I don't know.
I mean, I'm certainly going to wait to make a final judgment, and I will watch them all and probably won't stop watching them. Sure. I will say,
no, we would never do that.
Love Caroline Stanbury. Her husband is gay. So there's that. I like Lisa. Loved the big ice cubes in the pool. Her husband's also hot.
There's a sheen to Dubai too that I just can't get past. Like it feels very like polished and pretty, but then also there's a darkness to it. Like I was hearing about how, they, and I don't know how true this is, but how they had agreed to do the show because it'll drive tourism to Dubai. And there's also kind of like a weird, gross thing to me of like, oh, are we, by supporting this, are we driving traffic to Dubai, a place that like doesn't want queer people? And like, there's something sort of problematic about all of that. And I haven't really wrestled with it too much, but I'm starting to.
I haven't either. I'm sort of just like watching it right now and like thinking, is it entertaining me? And I think the answer to that is sort of. I thought that a couple of the women were interesting enough. I just worry that they're not all interesting. And I also just don't necessarily know that we needed a new franchise this soon. Right. When you have other franchises that I think need work, I think it's weird to add another one. Like there's too many right now. Like I can barely like really commit to Miami because it's just too much. I feel like there's too much on my plate personally. Yeah,
and with the girls trip and everything, and yeah, it's a lot.
Right, which I am so excited.
Oh my God, it's going to be good. The things that I've heard about part 2. I can't wait. Do you have any other final thoughts? I want to play a quick game with you before I let you go, but any final thoughts about Housewives? Anything you got to get off your chest about Housewives or anything really in pop culture that you want to say?
So I would like to speak on Crystal Kung Minkoff on Beverly Hills because I think that she's top of mind for me because she's sort of taken center, which I do like. However, I will say we have to figure out a way to play this in the next 2 episodes because I'm going to give her 2 episodes to turn this around because we had 1 season of Crystal where she started out really strong and then petered out. And I think that right now what she has done is she has caused Beverly Hills to start Beverly Hillsing. Now, what I mean by that in a negative sense is the conflict is what is the conflict? And I can't do that anymore because we've seen Beverly Hills at its best and we're promised like a great season. And here we are. And the conflict of the episodes is what was said off camera. And I can't do that. Like if Crystal's going to bring it up, she has to say it. That being said, if she doesn't want to say what Sutton said on camera, at least be interesting about it. Like be a bitch to them that they're nosy. Like make it into a thing like that you can personally like find conflict with. Like make it a personality thing. Like do something with it. Let's just not stay in the thing of, well, you need to say what it is. You need to say what it is. You need to say what it is. And this is when the other women get really annoying when they harp on this bullshit, this stupid shit. Like, why won't you say what it is? What does it mean about you? And how is it going to cause conflict with the other women? Let's make this interesting. And if she can't, then I don't think she works.
And then we all need to move on. And I feel that way about the whole thing that's coming with Kathy and Rinna and all the rumors and the blogs and stuff like that. It seems like that happens off camera too. And so I just need us to find a way to bridge the gap. If it happened off camera, I'm going to need them to like do some extra work in the production side or something. I'm going to need to get some sort of behind the wall footage or some receipts or something to bring into the show to at least like bridge the gap, because I can't have all of these storylines that happen off camera. Yeah, we can't have it.
No, it's so it's boring.
Yeah. Okay. I've never played this game, Matthew, but I felt like
Can I
call you Matthew? I'm calling you Matthew. Is that okay?
Usually only close friends and lovers call me Matthew, but you can call me Matthew.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so Anna Faris. We love her. We love Anna Faris, right? So I love her here at Everything Iconic, and she's got a pretty vast filmography. And I just thought you would be the perfect person to play this game of why Anna Faris deserves an Oscar. So I'm going to throw out a role, and you just tell me what about that movie or role or her in general deserves an Oscar for that specific performance. We're going to run through a few of these. All right, ready? Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. House Bunny.
House Bunny. Okay, so Anna Faris deserves a producing Oscar for House Bunny because she pitched this movie in character. I would say that the vocal choice of the sort of vocal Freud ditzy dumb blonde had been done 1,000 times, but she managed to make it feel new. My personal rubric for why someone should win an Oscar is, could anyone else have done it as well? And you'll find that with a lot of Anna Faris's roles, like probably since like Goldie Hawn, no one could have done it as well. And I think the House Bunny is an original character, which you don't see a lot of that happening in the big, broad comedy sense anymore, but I think it will come back. I think that she really played this to the hilt, and just the commitment of it all.
Scary movie.
She was able to elevate all the other people, and they ended up doing really well as well, like Emma Stone. If you cut me off again,
movie.
It's gonna be really bad for you, bitch. Scary movie. So she built a franchise on the strength of her performance. And also the fact that she never really even did like a Neve Campbell impression. She just gave you iconic Anna Faris. For me, I would personally give her the Oscar for Scary Movie 3, because I think that that's when she and Regina Hall really dropped in together. And I would also give Regina Hall the Best Supporting Actress award for Scary Movie 3, mostly for the line reading of when the crayons hit the door and she goes, "No, who the fuck did that?
Fuck did that?" I know we really need those two to get back together. We need to reboot all of these rebooted franchises like Scream and Halloween. That's the one that needs to be rebooted.
They're the two most talented comedic actresses of their generation.
And it's like they should be rolling up a truckload of fucking money to Anna Faris and Regina's house to get them back. Okay.
If the world were fair, Regina Hall would be as big as Sandra Bullock, period.
100%. Just Friends.
Just Friends. I mean, this is truly like talking about speaking to an era. Like, again, how many times had we seen like vocal fry pop star dummy get done, but she comes in and she's so funny. Also, you get that script and like you see the role on paper and you really have to make it interesting. One of my favorite things she does in that movie, which I often do as a bit at parties now, and no one gets it because I feel like a lot of people haven't seen this movie, is when she walks into the bar and no one sees her and she goes, "Yes, I know. Very exciting." Just like line reads down, give her the Oscar.
Okay, this one's going to be a tough one, and it's a deep cut. Maybe you don't know it. I will have to see. Her stint on Entourage.
Her stint on Entourage. I thought you were going to say like Brokeback Mountain.
Nope. That's part of the toughness of this game.
I have to tell you something. Entourage to me is like aggressive heterosexual culture, and I won't breach that line even for Anna Faris.
So maybe she deserves the Oscar for getting through it. Really?
Sure, but wouldn't that be an Emmy though?
Yeah, we'll give her both. We're making up rules here. Okay, last one. I guess we'll do Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah, Brokeback Mountain is fucking iconic because she was able to bring Anna Faris to a prestige film that probably she had to fight to be cast in. You know what I mean? Like, and talk about like being in a sea of incredible supporting actresses. Like, actually, one of my favorite things about that movie are the performances of Michelle Williams and Anne Hathaway, who is really underrated in that movie, by the way. Like,
so good.
Michelle got all the accolades because of Jack Twist, Jack Nasty. Like, you don't go up there to fish. I love her, but Anne in that last phone call at the end is stunning. And Anna Faris is unforgettable in that scene where she's being a little chatterbox. And never forget Linda Cardellini and Kate Mara. So these were so many iconic actresses being the support and the backbone of that movie, and every single one of them is brilliant. Every single one of them is so good.
Give her the Oscar.
And Matt, the woman who plays Jake Gyllenhaal's mom was great too.
Oh, wait, who? Yeah. Okay.
I don't know her name. I don't think she's got a big name, but she was also fab.
Give her the Oscar. Thank you for playing Why Anna Faris Deserves an Oscar. Now, for my next guest, who would you like me to play with them? Is there an actress that you think we should play this game with?
Yes. You should do it for Rachel McAdams.
Okay, that's who we'll do it next time.
Specifically for the years of like 2004 to 2006.
I mean, come on. Okay, Matt, thank you so much for taking the time. I want everyone to check out Fire Island, listen to Matt's podcast, Las Culturistas. I can't talk. Las Culturistas.
My dad can't say it either. My dad calls it Las Costa Ricas, and I'm like, well, that's epically wrong.
I love that for you, which I didn't even get to talk to you about this on Showtime. You had my favorite scene so far of the series when you're just saying, and I need you to say it for us, the discourse is toxic. Do you know, there's this moment where your character is saying it in front of a mirror, and it's the funniest fucking thing ever.
Thank you.
Please say it for us.
I hope that when you listen to this episode, you don't say the discourse is toxic.
How many times did you say that when you were
I probably said it about 15 or 16 times. And so I loved it. Like Sudie Green, who was like one of my best friends and a writer on the show, came in and she was just like shouting lines at me to say. And she was like, the discourse is toxic. And I was like, what? And she was like, just say the discourse is toxic. And now I love it because you can meme it. You know what I mean? Like you can like put it online and like then post me doing the discourse is toxic. And I've done it myself. I meme it myself.
I laugh a lot, but there's not a lot that like gets me like the tears in my eyes when I was watching it. And just, you kept doing it. And I was like, tears in my eyes. It was like, you just kept saying the discourse is toxic. It was just so fucking funny. And the show is so good. So everyone needs to binge it.
Everyone's got to watch it because we have to have a second season, please.
We're getting one, right? Like there has to be, right? It will.
I don't know yet. I feel good about it, but also like I'm such a show killer. Everything I do gets only one season.
No.
Not this though. Not this.
No, not this. The discourse is toxic, but not
the discourse will be so. I'm going to contribute to a toxic discourse if we don't get a second season. I'll tell you that.
I love you, Matt. Thank you so much for taking the time, and congrats on all of this success. I'm so incredibly happy, excited, proud, and I think what all of you guys are doing with Fire Island, opening up so many doors for so many people, is really special. So thank you.
Thank you.